Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Blue Dragon 5 here with yet another whimsical and wonderful installment of Disney Debates. Tonight's lineup boasts the following questions and includes the following. Most unnecessary Disney sequel. A new category so good it's Disney, as in, which film feels most like a Disney film? And of course, thirdly, best segment in any Fantasia film. Now, without further delay, let's enter the ring and greet our fearless competitors. And folks, tonight's a special Disney debate because it's what I like to call it's a prize fight tonight.
Woo!
It's a prize fight tonight, folks. So, in this corner, we have the reigning champ so far. Reigning champ representing the Hamlindigo Tea Incorporated, it's Tiki!
I can't believe it's not Disney.
And in the opposite corner, the challenger... the challenger of the evening, it's the future citadel of Rick's presidential candidate, Jacob Wile!
Yeah. Hello.
How we doing, fellas?
Pretty stoked. Nice way to hype this up. I like a nice one-on-one fight. The last time we did this, of course, was with Jacob Gulliver. So now I'm fighting the other Jacob one-on-one. Haha.
Yeah.
All right.
Obligatory to Jake's reference.
Yes.
Anyways.
All right, let's see. So, folks, of course, a little refresher on the rules for those playing the home game. Of course, we got 3 rounds. We got 3 questions. Of course, we're doing things a little different tonight because we got two folks in the ring this evening. So, just kind of go over it again as well. So, again, 3 rounds, 3 questions. If one person gets all 3 points, one person gets all 3. I'm sorry, there's. Of course, folks, just basically, it's going to be like first to 5 points, if not. Yeah, Tiki, how do we phrase it again? So first to 5 points.
Okay, yeah, basically there's 8 points total. So once you get over the 5-point threshold, then there's no way for the other person to catch up to you. So basically we're playing a best 5 out of 8 game. And it could get up to the point where I've got 4 points and Jacob has 4 points, and we have to play out that 8th question.
Exactly. So, of course, folks, just the kind of the usual order we got going on here. Basically, it's we're going to go around, establish our picks once we use the randomizer and figure out who's going when. Even though it's pretty much it's kind of a coin flip, but we're going to use the randomizer because we like it, darn it. Because it's a
the coin flip is a brand of Disney KO. The randomizer is a brand of Disney debates. It's all about the branding, Dragon.
Anyway. So, we'll establish the order. Our 2 competitors are going to reveal their picks, and then we're going to go back and forth, and with them making their grand opening statement, their big old opening statements, all the nice things, kind of flesh out, kind of paint a picture for the audience and why their choice should be the victor. And then they're going to fight it out, and just to keep things interesting, kind of like an ominous bell, if you will, of like, okay, I've heard enough. That, of course, will be my little buddy here. Who did show up? R2D2. So R2, of course, is the bell, signify that I've heard enough. Gentlemen, do you understand these rules as I have explained them to you here this evening?
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Jacob?
Yep.
Good. Okay, and of course, we're going to do the randomizer here. You'll notice the names are in alphabetical order to signify complete randomness.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's do it in 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm going first. I can live with that. Okay.
All right. So Tiki is going first, followed by Jacob this evening. We're going to stick to that order for the whole duration. All right, you guys ready for question number 1?
Get Baruni.
All right. Okay, question number 1. What is the most unnecessary Disney sequel ever made? Now, let me specify for you and the folks out there, of course, just so they know, direct-to-video sequels were allowed. And what I want to hear from you guys in your opening statements is a want you to refresh me and the audience on the film. So basically, give like a little bit of like a mini kind of like a mini summary. Just work it into your opening statement somehow, so folks know at least what the gist of your movie is. Okay.
Gotcha.
So let's establish who got what. So, Tiki, what'd you get?
All right, I chose the Magnus Opus that is The Fox and the Hound 2.
Okay, Jacob.
I chose the glorious epic sequel of Mulan 2.
All right, now let me signify for the folks there before we get right into it, just so again they know, and the thing I'm looking for from you guys as well is, again, I'm not looking for which is better. You can mention that, but let's not focus on that, because I'm looking for why the film is unnecessary, why it does not need to exist, why this sequel never needed to be made. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, opening statements, Tiki.
All right, Dragon, I'm going to make this very short and sweet, and I'll elaborate in my arguments. Fox and the Hound is a very underappreciated 80s Disney movie, and it's one of the most cutting social commentaries that Disney has done this side of Zootopia. It's a dark and heartbreaking story about just, like a metaphor for racial relationships tearing a friendship apart as they get older. Fox and the Hound 2 is about those friends joining a band and getting torn apart because one of them is in a band or something. And I actually watched it, and that's the best description I can give for it. This movie is a stink pile, man. Like, this movie, outside of some relatively decent animation, there's no reason for this thing to exist, all right? Because basically what this thing does, it essentially just completely cuts out all the, all the tension and all the backbone of the first film. It makes jokes out of some of the most memorable characters of the first film. And all around just completely messes with the canon, and it's just totally unneeded. Mulan 2 actually strives to do something well, which is actually continue the story of the movie, which is something we see rarely from Disney sequels. Fox and the Hound 2 just decides to be like, okay, we're just going to drop you right in the middle of the first movie, and then just, go off on this side quest, and it just doesn't work at all. And there's no reason for it to ever exist.
Okay, Jacob, when you're ready.
Mulan 2 Mulan was a grand epic, and also a rarity for Disney. A war movie, basically, something that Disney in animation or live action has rarely ever done. Mulan 2, it's a grand epic tale about this woman, about a woman trying to find her identity, and going on social commentary, has a good idea about gender identity, and how being one gender doesn't necessarily define who you are or what you can do. The sequel, as you mentioned, how it continues, how it tries to continue that, but it continues by completely, pretty much throwing away everything. It completely derails the characters, brings them down to like their most basic traits. Instead of none of the characters grow, and in the case of Mushu, he actually devolves. He can pretty much be considered the main villain of this movie, for crying out loud. They took one of the best characters from the first one and turned him into one of the worst in this one. How can it doesn't? It continues it, but not in a good way. That's my statement.
All right, boys, fight it out. I want you use your words, weaponize your words in a way. I want you to crack some skulls, guys. Go on.
All right, so first of all, I actually think that Mulan 2 has some decent social commentary in there, because it's commentating on the culture of arranged marriages, which is something that sort of is continuing the trend of the first Mulan movie. And yeah, it might not get it completely all the way right, but I applaud the movie for at least trying to go with the social commentary angle. Whereas that's my problem with Fox and the Hound 2, is that with Mulan's Mulan's social commentary was kind of on its sleeve from the get-go. That's a part of its character. Fox and the Hound, it's all about the subtext, and that's what makes Fox and the Hound work. And then when you take that out, the thing that offends me the most about Fox and the Hound 2 is simply the fact that all the conflict from Todd and Copper comes from this ridiculously you know, the ridiculously hokey idea of like, and then they join a band, and it's not something that ever got mentioned in the first movie, when it would seem like that'd be a huge event in the context of the first movie. And it just doesn't work. Like I said, Mulan 2, yeah, it's not going to be the greatest follow-up. You're not talking Terminator 2 in terms of sequels. Of course not. No one's expecting that for any Disney sequel. But for it to continue the story at all and to try and work in some social commentary in there in the same spirit of the first movie, I mean, A for effort, right?
But as you said so yourself, the social commentary falls completely flat on its head, and as far as I can tell, for the first movie, the subtext is kind of been over your head for a lot. I mean, like in the first Fox and the Hound, it's like it's not exactly subtextual. It's more like it's kind of beaten over your not exactly beaten over your head, but it's kind of made obvious. Like, yep, they're gonna end up hating each other eventually as they grow older.
I mean, you see that in the trailer, though. It's not like a big spoiler in the movie. The whole movie's kind of built on that tension. But
it's not exactly. But that kind of ruins your whole subtext argument. It's not exactly subtext if it's known it's going to be there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it's disappointing that the Fox and the Hound had nothing. That's all I'm trying to say with the subtext. Like, I'm just saying, like, with Mulan, it was a little bit more obvious because she's obviously like a female trying to pose as a man. And with the Fox and the Hound, they're animals, you know. So by definition, it's more of a metaphor than it is actual like social commentary. But what I'm trying to say is that I applaud the fact that it might not work in execution, Jacob, at all, but they actually do try. And with the Fox and the Hound too, they don't try at all. They're scared to talk about any of the social commentary in the original Fox and the Hound. They know that the original Fox and the Hound has a reputation for being one of the darker Disney movies. And so what do? They throw in a cartoon band with a bunch of lovable dogs, and Todd and Copper meet all these characters that they have long-lasting relationships with that we never, ever hear about in the first movie at all. There's no reason for this thing to exist. The story is just... It's nothing. The story is just a nothing story that makes no sense in the context of the first movie. And it throws out, pun intended, all the bark and bite of the first movie.
Response, Jacob?
I'm thinking.
All right. Take your time. But remember, again, why it's... I just want to make it clear in here, again, why it is unnecessary, not why it's, better or not.
Okay. For what I remember, Fox and the Hound, I mean, none of these films, I can just say, neither of these films really needed a sequel to begin with. They're both, you can basically just say they're both shameless cash grabs that were just put together, just sloppily put together to grab a few dollars from people who just wanted to see their characters and without any regards to quality. We can say that about both of these. But
we're not arguing the quality. We're arguing why they're unnecessary.
He's going to. He's going to.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jacob.
And so in regards, you can pretty much say majority of these are unnecessary. But mine is. But as far as mine goes, I mean, sure, Fox and the Hound 2 or Fox and the Hound is okay. As far as some people, I mean, some people see it as a classic, but it's nowhere near as grand or beloved as even Mulan is. Mulan, I mean, Mulan kind of greatly diminishes the scale of the story, and completely turns its characters on its head. Doesn't give them really any significant growth. It was just completely unnecessary to take these characters where they were, and even, like I said, they even took some of the best characters and turned them into shells of their former selves. At least with Fox and the Hound 2, there was at least some semblance of the original characters in there.
Okay, I got two responses to that. Like I said, I think you're kind of like admitting the fact that, like, yeah, Mulan was a way more successful and way more popular movie than Fox and the Hound. Therefore, by definition, it makes more sense for Mulan 2 to actually have a sequel. And we're not arguing quality. We're arguing, like, why should this movie exist? I think just by definition, Mulan 2 also being an action movie, you know, like action movies are way, way easier to turn into a franchise than like, you know, like old-timey fable about race relationships, you know, like disguised as a fox and a hound. And now onto your argument about the characters, Jacob. They might change in a negative light, but at least they're trying to do something different with the characters. And I assume you're talking about Mushu. Because the thing is, I actually thought it was interesting to see Mushu as kind of the villain. Like, yeah, it might not be exactly what you want out of a hero like that, but the thing is, like, Mushu is kind of like, he's always kind of had that self-centered side. And watching Mulan 2, I gotta say, I was sort of like sucked into the story of, you know, like Mushu almost going the self-sabotaging route. And it's much more interesting and well done than the, you know, Reba McEntire dog trying to trick Todd into self-sabotaging Copper and Fox and the Hound too.
Sorry.
Response, Mr. Vidal.
I'll pretend I understood that reference.
It's a good documentary on Netflix, by the way. I encourage the best of enemies. Excellent debate documentary. Go on.
All right. Okay.
Any response? All right. Sorry. Thank you. Go on.
Sorry, I'm just
All right.
trying to collect my thoughts. I mean,
Sure. Collect.
okay. I mean, I'm drawing a blank here. Tiki has me beat here. I can't really think of anything.
All right.
I mean, part of this is knowing when to throw in the towel, right? I mean,
I did it 2 debates ago, Jacob. There's no shame in it.
So,
Hey, man,
Jacob, are you officially throwing in the towel, or are you saying you're out?
No. Let Dragon.
So what I'm saying is, I'm just saying he caved in a lot sooner than I did.
The arguments like from the point when it stopped.
Yeah, from the point when it's. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, when you pretty much nailed it, and you pretty much got me back into a corner. I can't say any more to say it's better or worse.
All right, so you're gonna let it fall where it lies, then.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, anything more I say, I'm just gonna dig myself into a hole.
Okay. All right. That's a strategy for you, folks. All right.
Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
Tiki.
Sorry, guys.
It's fine.
All right,
Don't worry about it.
we'll see how you did. Let's see how you did. All right, so
How'd I do?
Tiki. Let's see. Tiki, I think you were on fire this round. I gotta tell you, you were really strong. You're really kind of solid in the opening. Even took some, got some good shot in there in the opening. Let's see. The thing I was most impressed by with yours, Tiki, is that you had used the surprisingly fantastic logic. They just kind of pulled out from there that, by definition, well, if Mulan, basically you took Jacob's point and used it against them.
Yep.
People Mulan's more name recognized, and people know Mulan, and people love Mulan. Where
So
Fox
of course there'd be a sequel.
That's the thing I'm most impressed by.
Yeah, I would say that was probably a knockout punch there.
Now, I will say this though. Let's just transition to Jacob here. I will say Jacob did, however, have some additional great points, and things were tipping in Jacob's favor for the large majority of this. I feel the opening statement was weak sauce, though. I think his opening statement was weak sauce, but I feel the majority of his argument was strong. And again, it's seemingly he was going to steal it. To be quite honest with you. He's basically making the argument that, again, Mulan hurt more. Mulan 2 hurt more, essentially. That's the thing.
That was a solid argument to go up against.
But again, it's most...
I just realized that was becoming the crutch of my argument. I just don't want to rely on that too much.
Exactly. That's the thing. So the thing I was worried about with Jacob's argument, where he started to kind of falter a little, is that, again, it kind of wavered from why it's more unnecessary. He's making the argument for why it hurt more and why it felt like, it was like kind of worsening Mulan as a continuation. But again, basically where it comes down is it just Tiki. He just made like kind of these. He had these knockout punches, Jacob. I feel if you honestly, was waiting to hear is if you could have come back from that logic that Tiki laid out. That was what I was on bated breath waiting to hear because again, I was like I was about to call it in that moment if I was going to give you a chance to see if you could come back, and because you didn't, I have no choice but to give it to Tiki.
All right. No, Jacob, that was more close than you're giving yourself credit for, though. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, had you been able to come back, you would have got that. I'll say that much.
Well, I
Well, you
appreciate that.
would have had a shot at it.
There's just really nothing else I could have said without really repeating myself or saying anything better about Fox and the Hound 2.
For sure. Okay.
Okay, round 2. All right, and this is a new category we're experimenting with in the labs of Disney Debates, folks. Right next to the Muppet Labs and right next to the Hamlindigo Labs. So, new category, So Good It's Disney. So Good It's Disney, quite simply, is which non-Disney animated film feels most like an animated Disney film? I want to stress the animation just so everyone's not throwing every other sort of movie at it. So again, which Disney animated film feels most? Which non-Disney animated film feels most like an animated Disney film? And which animated film feels like it should Disney could adopt essentially as their own? Adopt it like a starlet adopting a child. So, Tiki, what do you got?
I'm going with the 1988 Don Bluth classic, The Land Before Time.
All right.
And I'm going with the more fairly recent book to movie adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon from DreamWorks.
Yeah, both excellent films. Of course, kind of some generation kind of ushering in movies as well. Kind of How to Train Your Dragon is kind of a really kind of a hallmark of a new renaissance DreamWorks was entering for a while.
I've got to say, just in my opening statements, this is by far the most intimidating debate I've ever had to fight because I think both of these are absolutely fantastic movies, and I just want to get that out there right now. Just kind of politely shake hands with a fellow fighter. This is going to be a tough
tapping
one,
gloves,
right?
Tapping gloves, giving the nod.
Yeah, exactly. Because I have all the respect in the world for the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, and okay, so here we go.
I'm sorry, again, just to stress it out there again, folks. Now we're going quality, just arguing which one feels most like a Disney film.
Got it.
Okay, go on.
And this is definitely going to be a hard argument.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so The Land Before Time was made in that prime state of Don Bluth making Disney movies better than Disney was making Disney movies. I would say a solid argument could be made in this question for either American Tail or Land Before Time. I feel like those were kind of the two at the peak of Don Bluth's career. I decided to go with The Land Before Time because it's just got that iconic staying power in the pop culture landscape. Not that American Tail doesn't, but Land Before Time it's just simply put a beautiful movie. I watched it last night in preparation. I've seen it a million times in my life. I saw it a million times in childhood. I went through a Don Bluth phase in high school. I watched it a million more times then. I'll gladly watch it a million more times after this because I think it's a perfect movie. What makes it feel the most like Disney to me is the combination of the visuals and the music. Throughout the whole movie, you have this haunting and beautiful score by James Horner that culminates into the famous song If We Hold On Together by Diana Ross in the end credits. And it's almost as if the whole movie is kind of like weaving you through a musical tapestry building up to that song. And that mixed with the absolutely amazing and jaw-dropping Don Bluth visuals with scale and imagery and, unabashed darkness that still holds up today. While the sequels might have ground this franchise into the ground a little bit, the original film still holds up. And hey, what's more Disney than having a ton of unnecessary sequels attached to it, right?
All right, it's Tiki's opening statement. Jacob.
All right. It's much like Disney. Much like Disney. DreamWorks has occasionally entered a dork age itself, and then has come out on top to prove that they can still make quality, fantastic movies. One of those was Kung Fu Panda, but the other was they're probably their biggest crowning jewel, especially nowadays. How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, what better way to make it? It reaches. How to Train Your Dragon proved that DreamWorks has still got it, and even especially continuing afterwards. But it all started with the first. It proved that it has the sensibilities of a classic Disney movie, but also in the ways it has like. Okay, okay, sorry. It tells us like Disney. It has a coming of age story of a guy who really doesn't fit in, but finds his. It's basically a coming of age story with Vikings, something that would totally fit up Disney's alley. And it very much eschews the book and for its own story, something else Disney would also do. But in terms of tone, it's a very. Okay, sorry, I'm stumbling on my words massively here. Deep breath. Another way, in many ways, it can easily be compared to the best of Disney. It has the gorgeous animation, fantastic score, a great song over the grass, fantastic visual design and story, likable characters, very fun, and overall, it's a great, fantastic coming-of-age story about learning, about finding your place and accepting who you are. And hasn't launched a bad part of the franchise yet, and that's why I think How to Train Your Dragon fits in with the upper echelon of not just Disney, but also fits in with it and could be adopted by Disney as its own.
All right, boys, grab.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dragon.
All right, boys, grab your sharp tooths and mount your sharp tooths and get your Viking battle axe and toothlesses at the ready. Go try and kill each other. Go on.
Sharp tooth versus toothless.
Oh boy.
Okay, you know what the most un-Disney thing ever is? Putting actual effort and time into their sequels.
Well, it's actually isn't it? Well, yeah. Isn't it about the sequels? Isn't it about the movies themselves?
No, I know. I'm just throwing that out there as like a quick, opening jab. I don't know. Like I said, I think my franchise has like more of a Disney type feel with the endless sequels than your franchise does with like the super respectable sequels that are probably better than the original movie. And that is one of the arguments I will use against How to Train Your Dragon. It's a good starting point for the franchise. Quality-wise and in terms of feeling like a Disney movie, I think How to Train Your Dragon 2 is a lot better. I'm not going to hold that against the original, but to me, like I said, the original is more kind of like a jumping off point into a bigger world that we see explored in the sequel. Now, in terms of, let me see, you made a point, like, yeah, let's just say, like, we can pretty much, like, call it a moot point. Like, both of these movies have absolutely gorgeous animation. Both of these movies have beautiful music. But I think the one thing that Land Before Time has over How to Train Your Dragon in that regard is, like I said, kind of the Fantasia-like quality of the music blending together with the visuals, and the music essentially being one big kind of like hymn that builds up to the end song. And I think that is a very important kind of distinction and artistic flair that makes it like, it not only makes it feel like a Disney movie, it makes it feel like an old school Walt era Disney movie when the studio was taking really bold risks with their storytelling.
Well, you're not entirely accurate with the whole. Well, regarding my movie, regarding How to Train Your Dragon, about complete music matching the visuals. There were several times when there were like minutes, maybe like 5 to 7 minutes without dialogue in How to Train Your Dragon, without even just just listening to the music and the interaction with the characters. I mean, no dialogue, like the bonding with Toothless, the flights. I mean, those are pretty much all dialogue free, but have a fantastic yet subtle score over them.
So How to Train Your Dragon is essentially a boy and his dog story, which isn't necessarily un-Disney, but you know what I like about a Disney film is a really, really solid ensemble cast, a really perfect comedic relief, really great kind of like rivals and antagonists, and I think The Land Before Time does that honestly far better than How to Train Your Dragon does, in all honesty. Don't get me wrong, the characters in How to Train Your Dragon are fine. I think they get fleshed out a lot more in the sequel. I think even like the love interest, what's it, Ingrid or whatever?
Astrid.
Astrid, yes. I don't even think she's got much of a personality in the first movie. Like I said, a lot of these characters get a lot more developed in the sequel. In the first movie, they're more just kind of like one-off gags of characters. Whereas, let's look at The Land Before Time, okay? You see all four of those characters, I'm sorry, I have to do math. All five of these characters, all five of these characters are iconic. You have Littlefoot, the leader, the one who's lost the most, the one who has the most at stake. You have Sarah, the brash kind of like antagonistic one of the bunch who has a heart of gold. Grumpy much? You have Spike, the lovable doofus. Dopey much? Spike fits in perfectly with the pantomime Disney characters. You have Petrie, who's a lovable, eccentric, kind of like C-3PO type personality. And finally, we have Ducky, voiced by the late, great Judith Barcy. May God rest her soul, R.I.P. Ducky is, in my opinion, the perfect character. Ducky is perfect comic relief. She's sweet. She radiates the epitome of innocence. She's got a perfect catchphrase in yep, yep, yep. Seriously, yep, yep, yep has been like one of the things I've strongly considered to get a tattoo of in my life. And I associate so much with that character. And that's the thing with The Land Before Time, is it shows all five of these characters forming such a close and powerful bond with each other. That is what a Disney movie should do. I'm not saying that How to Train Your Dragon doesn't have good characters, and the main characters it focuses on, specifically, of course, the main father and son dynamic is terrific. I'm not going to take that away from it. But I think as an ensemble piece, The Land Before Time has How to Train Your Dragon beat hands down in terms of the great characters.
Well, Disney movies aren't always ensembles like you're mentioning. Sometimes they are these close, intimate father-son or parent-to-child stories with occasional friends thrown in as well. So it's not necessarily. So yours isn't just the only.
I'm trying to go for the best of Disney, though.
I mean, well, how so? I mean, how's that?
I mean, I'm saying The Land Before Time is not only an artistic achievement, a musical achievement, a symphony of music and artistry. It's also got just one of the most well-written groups of characters ever put to screen. Dragon mentioned at the start of this, the whole, Disney basically adopting them. I think How to Train Your Dragon the thing with How to Train Your Dragon is I think it stands on its own a little bit more than The Land Before Time does. I think The Land Before Time, with its cel-shaded animation and its lovable group of characters, would fit more at home in the Disney canon than How to Train Your Dragon with its, I don't know, How to Train Your Dragon, like I said, it's so hard to say anything bad about How to Train Your Dragon, I'll admit that. But I just think it stands on its own, and it kind of elevates DreamWorks as a studio, and yeah, I don't know. I'm getting kind of tongue-tied myself, man. This is a tough one.
The thing is, though, I honestly don't think. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still love Land Before Time, but even I don't. I mean, if it was included with Disney, it wouldn't be elevated. It would just be kind of there in the middle. Like it would just be like, okay, they made Land Before Time, and then,
like I said, I think I could picture The Land Before Time. To me, is so good that I'm not talking something like, yeah, sure, if it was released, like if it was included as a Disney movie, like as when it came out, yeah, I'd be like, okay, that's another one in the Disney Renaissance. I'm saying The Land Before Time is so good that this is something that feels like it should be in the pantheon of Snow White, Fantasia, Pinocchio, The Land Before Time, Dumbo, Bambi, I'm saying it fits in with those movies.
You mentioned The Land Before Time in that.
That's my point, Jacob.
That's his point, Jacob.
It fits in so well. I think The Land Before Time is brilliant because of the boldness of the storytelling. I think How to Train Your Dragon, specifically the first movie, and the reason why I like the second movie a lot more is the second movie expanded on the world, whereas the first movie kind of played it safe. The first movie was more sort of just like, it's a boy and his dog, and then there's some daddy issues thrown in there for good measure. For that reason, the first movie didn't really resonate with... Like, I liked the first movie. I thought the animation was good. I didn't really see it in theater, so I didn't really have that theater experience. Like I said, I don't know. I hate to make this like one of the cruxes of my argument. I just think that How to Train Your Dragon 2 just stands head and shoulders above the first movie. Not to the point of making the first movie irrelevant, but just, I don't know. Like, I feel like you would have an even stronger argument on your hands if you went with the sequel. As I said, this is a tough argument to make. I'm flying by the seat of my pants here, so...
No, back to my whole character argument. I'm going back to the whole character argument. Like, as I said before, sometimes these movies don't always step back. Sometimes they step back and like they focus on just not a whole ensemble of characters, but just a small local group. Like even just like the whole father and son thing. I think the father and son stories, like in How to Train Your Dragon, in this version, is up there with some of the best stories they've told. They've done the best Disney stories. I mean, and the whole boy and his dog. I mean, it's just a pleasant way to build on that. I mean, it's only something that fits in with the Disney pantheon.
Okay, you want to know what makes The Land Before Time a true Disney movie is the fact that basically it inspired other Disney movies, specifically The Lion King, because basically in The Land Before Time, you not only have the death of a parent in an iconic scene at the hands of the movie's main villain, you also have that parent coming back in the clouds as a spirit. So I'm not saying that Disney ripped them off, but I'm just saying, like artistic liberty is the sincerest form of flattery. I don't know. I just want to point that out. I just want to get that in there. Like, the imagery in The Land Before Time has stuck in the animation genre. Whereas I think the imagery in How to Train Your Dragon is great for the series, but I don't think it translates well into the grander scale of what a Disney movie is. Like, I feel like it's a quirky little franchise that has a terrific set of world building to it. But like I said, the original Land Before Time to me is just like celluloid. It's perfection. And there are things that I don't like about the original How to Train Your Dragon. I think it's got some crude humor in there. I think that I honestly think that the comic relief characters it does have really don't play well. Whereas, like I said, Land Before Time has two perfect comic relief characters in Ducky and Petrie, and they're just like Ducky, especially. They're just absolutely like you can't say anything wrong about them, especially in the first film.
I honestly know Ducky's always has been not one of my favorite characters from the franchise.
How
honestly.
dare you? No, I'm just kidding. To each his own.
That's Tiki's Ralph Garman impression. How dare you, sir?
I can't really say anything. I can't really regard this. I mean, it doesn't really make it.
No, it's fine. Ducky is a very personal character to me, so I get it.
No, it's not that. It's because it doesn't really work well with the whole point of the argument to make it more Disney-like.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, I mean, to make it more Disney-like, I don't know, like, I just think Ducky as a character, like I said, it's one of the few things I would ever actually tattoo onto my body. And that's got to count for something, right? Whereas...
Not really.
Not really?
Tiki, that could just be poor decision-making. Those really,
You get tattooed. Where's that from, Lambo? Yep, Ducky.
You really want to obscure on that
tattoo,
one,
all right? Don't write me on the tattoo. I'm just saying how much the character.
I'm not saying it would be bad. I'm just saying don't say it's like the saving grace of the argument.
I'm not saying. Look, all I'm trying to say is that the Land Before Time characters inspire rabid fandom, and I am among that rabid fandom. There is a reason why this franchise is still going strong with kids today. It's because of the characters, and the characters work so well because of what they established in that first movie.
Yeah, and then the sequels just completely ruin that.
Man, okay, just hands down, that was the most intense debate I've ever been in.
Boy, oh boy, this is an interesting one.
That
I had a few
was
more points.
that was tough. That was really, really tough.
I had a few more points I wanted to make, but I won't. But I can't say them now.
Yeah, I also have other points, but R2D2 has spoken.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I have no
Okay,
idea
well,
who's going to win this one.
This is a tough one, folks. And as I said, I kind of made a decision while it was going on there. And basically, I was just waiting to kind of see both points just kind of solidify that decision. So that's making it all ominous and buildy. So, okay, let's start with Tiki. Okay, so Tiki. I think Tiki made a lot of excellent points. He went more for the. I feel Tiki went more for the history of Disney. I think he really stressed the. He really got to the heart of what the question's kind of asking here about. How it feels like a Disney movie. And I think a strong point of Tiki's was how it inspired other Disney. Well, to be fair, that's not like the main point I should highlight, but that was another good point. Is about how it inspired other Disney films, quite possibly. At the very least, it was competition to inspire Disney to step up their game. But mainly when he was listing among the pantheon of like other, how it would fit in, how it would kind of look more organic in
It
a
fits
line
like
of
a
Disney.
glove between Fantasia and Dumbo, right?
Well, again, let's not make any declarative statements on that, but
Right,
that's what I'm saying. Anyway, so now, however, with these arguments, I did feel I felt he started a little. I felt he started a little mixed. He started off great with the Don Bluth point. I would have liked him maybe to hit kind of the obvious point about again Don Bluth, literally a former Disney animator. I think that would have gone a long way if he's pointed that out.
I mean, technically, mine was also directed by ex-Disney animator.
That's what I'm saying. You guys kind of dropped the ball on that one. I was waiting.
Well, I feel like that kind of like you can't punish either of us for that because we both kind of made the same.
I know. That's the thing. You both made it, so I'm not holding. I'm just pointing out for both of you. Okay, it's like
I almost made that point, but I thought it was irrelevant.
Yeah, I'm just saying it would have been like a cool little. Just so you can point out to the folks out there, we had Disney directors, which is kind of why out of all these picks, these two.
Well, technically, Don Bluth never directed at Disney.
Well, I'm saying they worked at Disney. When they had to start out, I'm pretty sure they all started in the anime. Well, no, Chris. Chris.
Chris and Dean actually directed. They directed Lilo and Stitch.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying also they worked in Mulan. I'm trying to think. They worked maybe did some stuff for. I'm trying to think if they worked in.
They did a lot of work during the Renaissance. I think
I'm saying Chris Sanders worked in story. I don't know if he worked in animation or not. That's what I'm getting at.
I know he worked on the Lion. I know he worked on the Lion King.
All right. Anyway.
Sorry.
Let's see. So the point is, I think there are a few things Steve could point point out. I wish he was more specific on a little more specific about. He brought up the music. I didn't really see how that was really super. I wish he paired his music point more with the kind of the scale and the imagery. Kind of said how they melded together. Okay. Just kind of more kind of separate. Hey, it's got good music. So, all right, on to Jacob. So Jacob, How to Train Your Dragon, again, both excellent films. I'll say this much: out of the two, my favorite would be. I'm not saying favorite to win. I'm saying favorite out of the two films would be How to Train Your Dragon.
Recency bias.
Oh, come on! I'm just
kidding.
Watching the show on Netflix and everything. It's really good. It's good.
Yeah, that's okay. See, that's what I'm saying. That is recency bias right there.
No, I mean, no.
Show all fresh in your head, anyways. I'm sorry.
I've been tracking it. It's in the 5th season, and there's 2 additional seasons before that, man.
And it's the recency bias. Anyway,
that is the recency bias. Anyway, Jacob made some great subtle points about Disney. We kind of made. I think Tiki was more kind of a historical, kind of factual thing about Disney. I think Jacob's is more kind of some great kind of subtle similarities to the Disney films, and it feels very much like a Disney story with we're using an era of time with the Vikings. We're kind of skewing the book a little like Disney has done with stuff like Jungle Book.
The Viking point was a good one, yes.
Exactly. Of course, point out the animation and animation of the characters. I feel with Jacobs, a crippling thing for Jacobs was that aside from a rocky start, he had a really rocky start. He got a really rocky start. But again, he still pulled out a lot of good stuff from that opening. But it was just kind of like, it was a stew pot. It was like, it's a stew pot filled with a lot of unnecessary vegetables. But, you know. And let's see. But then I feel Jacob could have refuted a lot of Tiki's points. And he kind of laid in the cut a little bit. And I think that might have hurt him. Late in the cut during the fight, he took more hits than he should have. Mm-hmm. Kind of discombobulated. And again, I don't think Jacob made a weak point. I want to make that clear. Jacob did not make a weak point, but he could have made more. And by the time he was getting around to making some good ones, like when I ended the round, he ended on a really good point. But
he did.
You know, an excellent point about the sequels. But it, honestly, just for who can argue who had the better argument, I gotta give it to Tiki on this. I really do.
Okay.
Tiki came correct. He came correct. He was knocking. You know, it was hit after hit. He made some excellent points. I mean, he had various points where
that's what you do when you're defending like something that's been a pivotal part of your childhood, you know, and something that you still love to death.
I still think he hit upon the tattoo point way too much.
I'm sorry. It's just that. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, if once was good enough, Tiki, you shouldn't have brought it up again.
Okay, fair enough.
And Jacob, I'm going to give you this advice, buddy. All right, you're laying in the cut. Get in there. All right, he was knocking you silly. Get in there, darn it.
I wanted to make more points, but then you called the round.
I know, because you weren't. I didn't have any faith in you in that round. Okay, because you were. That's the thing. I knew you had it in you, but you weren't delivering until way late in the game, man. You gotta get your digs in there. All right, advice you gotta shape up, man, especially in the opening. All right.
All right.
I know you got it in you, buddy. You do. You can still pull us off. All right.
How to Train Your Dragon's still better.
On that, I agree.
And it's not recency bias.
That I also agree. Okay. You guys ready for round 3?
Yep.
Yeah, just lay it off already. That's like one of the most annoying things from that movie.
Okay.
Tattoo, Jacob.
It was cute, but I still question the logic of tattooing that. But again, I'm not gonna take away from Tiki's fandom on that. I was like, if it floats his boat, it floats his boat. If he wants to live with that forever,
it's like an anthem of '90s kids. Okay.
Someone's just gonna look at that arm sleeve, and they're gonna say, "Oh boy, that guy's really positive. Yep, he's game for everything."
That's what I'm saying. That's what I love about the Ducky character. All
right. Okay, round 3. Best, and of course this is timely for some stuff we've been doing this month. Best segment in any, I guess I should say either, but you know, who knows in the future? Who knows? Best segment in any Fantasia film. What I want you boys to do, I want you to give like a very, because again we've talked over in detail. Of course, I would hope folks remember this. Recap a little of the segment in your opening statements, and that's really just kind of the only kind of specificity I have. So let's just establish the order here. Tiki.
So just the opening, just basically a summary.
Well, in the openings, just the summary in there and make your opening statement points. You know, your opening remarks. Just just a little, just refresh us on it. That's all.
All right.
Okay, Tiki.
Okay, so I am going with the Igor Stravinsky's Firebird Suite, which is the finale of Fantasia 2000.
Okay, Jacob.
I'm going with Rhapsody in Blue. The Frank Gershwin piece set to artistic stylings of Al Hirschfeld.
Both excellent choices, as well as really excellent choices from Fantasia 2000.
Yeah, seriously, folks. Like a week later, all three of us are still on a Fantasia 2000 high with how good that movie is.
All right, so Tiki, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so the Firebird, I'm going to make this as short and sweet as I can. Firebird Suite, I think, is the perfect summation of everything that makes Fantasia a great concept. This is the artists taking everything that they've learned and applying it. This is a grade A visual spectacle. It basically combines the darkness and scariness of Night on Bald Mountain with the lightheartedness and uplifting quality of Ave Maria, all in one consistent storyline. It's a very simple story of a sprite coming to life and bringing life to a forest, and then having to encounter her own demons in the form of a firebird, which takes the form of a volcanic eruption, which wipes out the land. But with the help of her elk companion, little by little, the sprite rebuilds the land until finally the land is green and lush, and the music is pumping, and the sprite is all happy, and it's just, God, it fills you with such a sense of wonder and joy, and it gives you goosebumps, and it's got a legitimate jump scare in it, and the firebird is terrifying in the middle, and it's just one of the most fantastic, jaw-dropping, moving pieces of animation I think Disney's ever done, hands down.
Jacob?
Okay, my segment for my Fantasia segment, I chose Rhapsody in Blue. Rhapsody in Blue. It's a subtle, moving jazz piece, and the story itself is set in the artistic style of Al Hirschfeld. Which is a fantastic tribute to him. Anything. The story tells in the Great Depression of New York, and tells the story of four various people struggling, trying to find their way through life, like find what they really want to do, trying to be happy during this time. But the music actually captures the subtlety of this very well. The music fits the theme of this story very well. In terms of the fact that it allows you to see these characters, and as you see these characters as they evolve throughout this day in their lives. It also accounts for it's also one of the few to actually throw in some visual gags as well set to the music. Some very clever visual gags. But not to mention a very moving and heartfelt story of people finding happiness. And it's like your dreary day might be another person's happy dream. And all that happiness that even in the darkest of times, happiness can be found anywhere. It's not exactly on the most stylistic movie piece they've ever made, but the style works. Here's the thing though: the style works for the story. It services the story and the music extremely well, and elevates it as to be one of the biggest highlights of the Fantasia franchise as a whole.
Okay, again, folks, we have really diverse picks here. One's, of course, a little bit more, one's definitely a different kind of flavor, and one is very consistent with the Fantasia flavor. It's kind of the points that have been made here so far. So let's just we're going to dive in this. Very different, but also very good in different ways. So we're going to dive right into it, guys. Fight it out. Which is better? Whenever you're ready.
I think we're both afraid to say anything.
No. I'm just being polite and letting you get the opening shot in.
Remember, Jacob, both of you guys, best fight possible. Jacob, you gotta really get in there, man. Get in there. When you're ready.
Okay. I don't think that for as far as Firebird Suite goes, I don't think it gets interesting until the Firebird shows up. And when it does, it relies mostly on spectacle, and that's a sure. I mean, sure, it's a beautiful piece, but that's just it. It's mostly just there for spectacle and say, "Oh, look what our animators can do." It's like, as far as Rhapsody in Blue goes, it actually tells a far more interesting and relatable story for people trying to achieve their happiness and find their happy endings through even the most mundane of means.
Okay, so it's interesting. I want to get down to the root of the question, which is, what is the best Fantasia segment? To me, I feel like Rhapsody in Blue is almost like, it's so good that it almost stands alone from Fantasia, and you could kind of put it anywhere in the Disney canon. And whereas I feel like Firebird only works as the finale of a Fantasia film. And honestly, you might think I'm tearing my short down by saying that, but no, like I said, I'm saying that you don't have Fantasia 2000 without Firebird. And while losing Rhapsody in Blue would be a big loss for sure, because I think we can both agree, and I don't even want to argue style in this one, because I love the style in Rhapsody in Blue. I love the artistry in Firebird. It's tomato and tomato as far as I'm concerned. They're both freaking fantastic. Again, this is another hard one to fight because I love both of them.
Red and blue.
But like I said, my argument here is basically like Firebird it's the perfect culmination for Fantasia 2000, whereas Rhapsody in Blue, as good as it is, you can almost kind of show it anywhere. You can show it in front of a short, you can show it in front of a movie. It's like it's got all the qualities of it feels more like classic Disney than it does traditional Fantasia. And maybe I'm just a purist that way. And maybe it's like, oh, what's this jazz doing in my classical music? That's literally kind of the argument I'm making right now, as pretentious as that sounds.
Well, here's the thing, though. You said Firebird fits into Fantasia very well. I mean, and I'm not going to deny that because nobody can really deny that. But the way I think Rhapsody in Blue also fits within Fantasia, in the terms of it was always meant to it's like what Walt envisioned. It's an evolving piece. And this is part of it. This is part of Fantasia's evolution. Firebird Suite is kind of something they would make a long time ago. Like it does fit in with the classic Disney, but this fits in with Walt's vision of an evolving Fantasia. Well, something that's not exactly classical, but something that's old enough to be considered old music, and also set with a distinct visual style. Again, Fantasia's evolving.
So, like I said, I just think I think Rhapsody in Blue is so focused on its narrative that I kind of almost find it a little bit difficult to keep track of all the characters. Whereas with Firebird, I feel like Firebird, it's the simplicity in Firebird that really gives it its genius. It's the fact that we're basically tracking two characters, which is the sprite and the elk. The Firebird isn't even really a character in its own right. It's more just kind of a thematic device. It's more just a force of nature. It's a literal force of nature. And so I think honestly, I think the simplicity, while one argument could be made that Rhapsody in Blue might have more going on for it. Like I said, I think when you're talking just in the structure of Fantasia, which is putting images to music, having those images flow with the music, Rhapsody in Blue does that good. Firebird does it perfectly.
Now, you see, I have to disagree with you on the whole characters thing, but I don't think it's really hard to keep track of the characters at all, considering they're very distinct designs, and they each have their own stories, which all interweave at the very end. So I have to kind of disagree with you on that there, and it flows very well with the style of music, with the music and the imagery. I mean, they complement both of them. Everything complements each other perfectly in Rhapsody in Blue. However, I mean, the music for Firebird could really be placed anywhere else.
Oh, I disagree. I strongly disagree with that. Well, I will say this is again kind of a tomato and tomato thing, because both the music in both of these is fantastic, and Rhapsody in Blue does fit in very well with with your piece. But Firebird, I don't know. I just think Firebird, just the imagery of the Alaskan landscapes and the trees and and not to mention the actual visualization of the Firebird itself. It might not have quite as close of a tie as Rhapsody in Blue does, but it I think to just say it has, to just say that music could be played anywhere is no. I mean, you can't play that in on top of on top of I don't know, playing it even on top of something like Pines of Rome.
Well,
Wait, okay, Jacob, tell us why.
Well, no, actually, I'm going to rephrase what I meant.
All right.
I was like, you could use that music, and you could use it instead of pretty much any other visuals, not just the Firebird. That's what I kind of meant by that. But I still have to disagree with your story. I mean, the story isn't. I mean, the visuals and the music are definitely the strongest points of yours. Definitely strongest points of yours. But what I have to say is the story. I mean, it's not exactly the strongest story. I mean, it's just like a simple story. It's like, oh, everything's going to be okay at the end and everything. Because basically, this is Fantasia. Because if you're anticipating, I mean, because it's kind of like riding on the curtails of Night on Bald Mountain. Like, it starts off epic, and there's this big god of destruction, but then it's
perfecting what they started from Night on Bald Mountain. There's a big difference between riding coattails and improving on what you already had. I love Night on Bald Mountain. Night on Bald Mountain is definitely my nostalgic pick for the best Fantasia sequence for sure. But if I'm looking at this just from a context of quality, as I said in my original argument, Firebird is the perfect blend of what Night on Bald Mountain and Ave Maria did in something that's much more thrilling and much more satisfying and much more cohesive than either of those two pieces.
But honestly, honestly, I said the story is obviously the weakest point for me. Is the weakest point of the Firebird. I mean,
I would honestly say the same thing about Rhapsody in Blue, just because Fantasia is not about story; it's about imagery. And clearly, you've already said the strongest point to mine is imagery. Fantasia is not about like tracking 6 different characters through this. And yeah, sure, it works well. It works well, but I don't know. I'm saying like I feel like I said, I feel like Rhapsody in Blue, like it feels at home at like a catalog of like music-based Disney shorts. I almost feel like, you know, of course we're talking about something that has Carnival of Animals and Donald Duck and Noah's Ark, so it's not too lighthearted by any means, but
you could just easily say the same thing about Firebird. You could easily show that in front of it as a short or an animation show of shows.
No. Like I said, Firebird only works as the finale to a Fantasia film. That's where it gets its most substance. And that's specifically what it wants to do and sets out to accomplish, which is to be a finale.
All right, Tiki, tell me exactly, just even if you said before, I want you to reaffirm it, okay? Tell me exactly why it only works as a finale, Tiki. I mean, why is it like
I said, it only works as a finale because the whole point of what they were trying to do with Firebird was to essentially make a more perfected version of Night on Bald Mountain and Ave Maria with the the blended imagery of like the darkness mixing with the light.
All right.
Okay, hey, are you done? Sorry, I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, I'm done. I've pretty much said my piece on this.
And I kind of have to, but one thing I do have to disagree with you about mine though is that there's advantages. Like even though that is about imagery, it's also all of these actually do tell a cohesive story. I mean, that's not something completely new to Fantasia or new to anything else. Like all of these do tell a story. I mean, from even Toccata and Fugue to Night on Bald Mountain, Ave Maria, from the first one in Fantasia 2000 to
what's the story of Toccata and Fugue? I'm curious.
It's a story of abstract story. It's a story of abstract. I mean, Steve Taylor explained it.
You see, to me, the story of Toccata and Fugue is like the imagery that goes through, through Stokowski's head as he conducts. But anyways.
But Fantasia, I mean, the individual stories all who have their story, so that's kind of what I have to disagree with you on. All of them, sure, it's not the most important thing, but they do all have stories there, and the stories are conveyed through said imagery, as you say, the imagery is important, and the story conveys those images. And as for Rhapsody in Blue, I think the story's form is a very more relatable and interesting story as opposed to Firebird. It shows that happiness can come from anywhere. You can find someone else's dreariness can be someone else's dream. And it just overall proves that it can just be entertaining in its own way. I mean, it just says that. Whereas the Firebird.
I'm sorry, Jake. I'm gonna let you finish that. I'm gonna let you finish that point, but that's the end. Finish with the thing about the Firebird.
Whereas the Firebird is kind of like it's kind of just like the story was an afterthought, and it's kind of an afterthought.
All right, that's where it ends. Okay. Boy, oh boy, I tell you, this one is, first of all, again, congrats to everyone. Again, you guys did a really excellent, you guys have done an excellent fight here, Jacob. You took the advice, you stepped up your game. This is a this is a very close one. This one is it's an impossible fight. It's almost an impossible fight to judge. I'm saying, let's do a different question, but no, absolutely, we're gonna say, you know what, guys, it's too close. It's a tie. We're gonna move on, but no, I'm actually gonna.
Before we move on, can I say one thing? I'd like to extend my virtual hand and say, good game, Tiki.
Yeah, thanks. Same to you.
All right, but in all seriousness, to kind of evaluate here, a decision must be made. It's going to be like Stanley picking between the heroes on who wants to be a superhero. But, so I'm going to make it kind of sound here, it's all dramatic and all ominous, and like who did well, who did. Okay, Tiki, let's start with you.
All right,
Firebird. All right. Okay, so I feel Tiki again. Tiki, you're really again both you guys are really strong in both of these fights here. Right? So you got a summation of what Fantasia is. You have some really steadfast defenses at the ready for what Jacob was laying out at you. I think you had like a prepared attack going into it, which was strong. I do feel Jacob had a lot of strong points that kind of like again it was like a really good defense against the stuff you were laying out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you. A part of me felt you went a little bit more in circles. You both eventually went in circles, but I think Jacob more towards the end. You T, I think in the middle, but then you calibrated from it. But I just want to point that out for both of you. I think you both just kind of at a certain point you were kind of reiterating the similar points again. Again, like mainly with Tiki's, like again, basically, I think there was a lot of it's the perfect culmination. It's the perfect culmination. It's the very it's basically it's a redo of Night on Bald Mountain. I don't know if I would have. I know I asked you to reiterate once. I'm not gonna. Obviously, I'm not like saying.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
I'm saying I would have liked to hear more variety on the Firebird Suite. It's really the main gripe I have with that. All right, moving on to Rhapsody in Blue. So the most impressive point, again, Jacob, of course, he course corrected very well. I mean, this is the most impressive round he's gotten so far this game. I feel the strongest thing in Jay's are the most kind of, I guess, kind of pride I felt in Jacob was the evolution of the evolution of Fantasia.
That was hard to argue. I will admit that was kind of almost a knockout on my end.
And I'll say this: that is why this round is so hard to judge. Because I think Tiki, it was really in Tiki's favor. Again, while it was still strong, I think it was in Tiki's favor until that moment. Basically, everything after that moment, that's when things got really difficult.
Yeah.
Because again, Jacob has had such an excellent defense, and the real question of this round for me to judge is, best say in any Fantasia film, Tiki's making the argument, it's kind of best Fantasia period, where Jacob's making the argument it is the best Fantasia, film of what is in that film.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying based on that, basically saying it is basically Tiki is representative of Fantasia in general. It's kind of a general like Fantasia umbrella. Jacob's saying it embodies what Fantasia 2000 is, which is essentially just Fantasia going forward, which was the intention in the original Fantasia. Mm-hmm. So again, it's because Jacob's was a little bit more kind of subtle and kind of woven in there. Tiki's was a little bit more kind of the broad, safe umbrella. Either or is good, just there. So oh boy, and I think Jacob made some story points there, making reference. I think Tiki tore those down quite easily. So oh god, this is almost.
Just give the point to Jacob.
Fine.
You sure?
I'm not giving up, but I really want Jacob to have this point. I'm proud of him too.
All right.
Just give the point to Jacob.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, folks, that's sportsmanship if you've ever seen it here on Disney.
Yeah, seriously.
I tell you.
That was a tough one. I mean, I didn't know if you made some great arguments for Firebird. I mean,
yeah. No, Jacob, you really stepped it up. I don't want you to come away empty-handed in this fight, so I got to give you some credit. Give the boy a point.
What do you think about this show, sportsmanship here too? Let's go with the ref here for a second. Oh, he's filled with such pride. He's like an oily tear coming down the big old eye on his.
All hail R2.
Well played, Dragon.
You made R2 cry with that beautiful show of sportsmanship, boys. All right, you should be proud. Now we're moving on to the speed round.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so far, folks, the point is it's Tiki's got 2, Jacob has 1.
We're playing to 5, so
first 1 to 5.
No. I mean, there's 5 speed round questions, so.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Gonna be an uphill battle.
All right. Question number 1. Oh, and by the way, of course, with the speed round, we're doing the 30-second opener, 15-second rebuttal, and 30-second closer. So, kind of the 30-second sandwich, we like to call it.
Okay, I kind of messed that up last time, so I still apologize for that.
All right, so Jacob's now again. The interesting thing with this fight, the challenger versus the champ here, is again Tiki's been kind of delivering a lot of cuts. Jacob's a little battered here, but at the same time, Jacob's kind of found his Rocky-like second win. So now we're gonna get are the points gonna do him in, or is he gonna be Rocky 2? So that's gonna come over here. It's
I
very
love your
interesting.
enthusiasm, Dragon.
All right, so
Okay, let's bring it on.
okay, 30, 15, 30. We're all clear on that.
Yeah.
Yes, I won't epically fail like last time.
All right, you ready, boys? You ready for question number 1 of the speed round?
Yes.
Yes, and also I want to point out, Jacob, you didn't epically fail to the point where I could literally just sing nonsense for my rebuttal and still win a debate against Sandy in the speed round. So
what I meant was I didn't like call you on like going over time. That's what I meant.
yeah, for sure. Anyway,
Let's just say Sandy sometimes lives up to the. He's the Roy E. Disney many a time.
that's
he's very much so. Again, we love Roy Disney, but he still did have that nickname. So anyway,
Well, better than being the Michael Eisner, I guess.
True. Okay, question number 1. This is a biggie.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Which Disney character? Now you don't want to say this again. I'm going to list the 2 characters. Whoever speaks first has to go first. All right.
Sure.
Which Disney character should take over when Mickey Mouse retires as the Disney as like the patronage of the landmark character of Disney, as the mascot, if you will, as Disney's mascot. Which Disney character should take over when Mickey Mouse retires as Disney's mascot? Goofy or Donald Duck?
Goofy.
Donald Duck.
All right, let me put it down there. Tiki has Goofy, and he's going first.
I heard you say Goofy first, so that's why I went with Donald.
All right, Jacob is Donald. Okay, Tiki, whenever you're ready.
All right. So I think what makes Mickey a great mascot is the fact that he's got an innate ability to be both lovable and comedic. And I think Goofy is honestly an even better character when it comes to that. Goofy just radiates, like, you love the hell out of Goofy, and yet he is funny as, he'll just make your sides hurt from laughter. Donald is just, I don't know, Donald, he's got some issues, man. I don't think he'd do good in the head honcho role.
You see, Donald's always wanted to be the mascot, so this would be the prime opportunity for him to do so when Mickey retires. He'd be the one to kick Mickey out the door. It's like, he'd be the one saying, see you later, suckers. All right, but I think he'd honestly make a good mascot. And for a time, he actually did eclipse the popularity of Mickey Mouse. So he actually has the strength of actually being Disney's mascot in a way. And I think he has definitely the strength of a character, and as well, he's comedic and he can be well-rounded in many multiple ways as well.
Okay, what you just described is exactly the reason why Donald should never be the mascot. Who wants to see the mascot of Disney run out Mickey Mouse? Come on, that's exactly what would happen with Donald, and that's exactly why we shouldn't have it.
I was just making a joke, Tiki. But Goofy wouldn't really make much better of a mascot. I mean, he's pretty much just a one trick. He's pretty much just one trick pony. It's like, haha, he's so dumb. I mean, sure he has a son, but that doesn't really elevate much past that. I mean, it's just him being a dumb dad, and he's like not very much better beyond that.
I feel like the thing that strikes a chord with both these characters is the relatability. Everyone is stupid and messes up sometimes. Everyone gets angry sometimes. However, I think the comedy and the humor and the warmth of Goofy is what elevates him above Donald Duck. Goofy is the person you want to just go up and give a big hug to. Whereas Donald Duck's kind of the person where it's like, if you're sitting next to him on the bus, the kids might, the mother might move the kids down a few seats from Donald Duck. That's not a mascot.
Here's the thing, though. So Donald may come off as brash and abrasive. He always means well. He's like never intentionally malicious, and whenever he is, he always comes out. He always tries to face it in the end. I mean, like he's always a good guy deep down. Like he's been in many ways. He's also a mascot. In many ways, he also is the mascot of the company around the world. Like he's influenced comics and and created an entire universe. He's like, and pretty much is their comics mascot in a way. I think his overall characteristics makes him a far more likable mascot.
Boy, this was a surprising one. I tell you, this is a good fight, guys.
Good shots all the way around.
Oh yeah, I'm very impressed with the two of you guys here. Let's just say, just making quick. Okay, so Tiki laid out the Goofy argument, of course, very basically focusing on Goofy's lovability and just the fact he's very likable. And let's just say, he didn't make this point, just to stress it for the folks out there. Of course, so Goofy does have kind of a lovable following. Look at Nostalgia Critic recently talking about the Goofy movie. You can highlight how lovable Goofy is. That's kind of
okay. To be fair, I didn't want to make it so topical and be like, "Yeah, Goofy movie. We all love Goofy movie. Yes."
Well, sure. I'm just pointing out kind of the stuff.
It's obvious that we all love Goofy movie, Dragon. I don't need to state it in the speed round.
You don't. I know. I'm just saying that I'm just kind of summarizing what Tiki's kind of point. What your point is.
Okay.
All right. And of course, Jacob did have a blow against it with it's kind of a one-trick pony with a son. So that was definitely a hard hitting blow. But moving on, it was a good hit in the face, I guess.
Sure.
Anyway, so. Okay, going on, Jacob, with Donald Duck. So, Jacob did take a real big chance, of course, with that joke. That joke kind of was kind of a Sandyism. It was. He kind of pulled a bit of a Sandy with that, but then he course corrected it. Though he made sure it was a joke. He made sure that it was known. He took a chance. Then of course he corrected himself.
To be fair, him acknowledging it as a joke kind of made my whole rebuttal pointless. So
exactly,
good on you, Jacob.
Now, of course, Tiki did point out that Donald has issues, especially with kind of the abrasive personality. However, just kind of with the mascot of it all, with the question, Jacob really pulled himself up by the bootstraps and kind of on the count of 10, count to 10 on the knockout. He got up and he stood his ground. And I tell you, but I think he stole in the end. So I'm going to give the point to Jacob.
Oh, nice, thank you.
Okay, I want to fact check something really quick. I understand that he's getting the point, but honestly, I mean, I guess it's kind of subjective, but I consider Scrooge more the mascot of the comics than Donald.
I'll tell you what.
Well, Scrooge kind of came from the full Donald story.
That's what I'm saying, Tiki. The bit that won me over on this last thing I'll say. We'll move on. Is that just it's when he pointed out the name recognition of Donald. I mean, as much as we love Goofy, I mean Donald. He's this, and we have spin-offs and just the comic duck. Kind of Disney in comics is very much marketed on Donald. We have parodies of characters like Donald with Howard the Duck. That's what I'm saying. So we got Donald has name recognition as a mascot. I think that's what kind of won him the point.
Okay, so we're all tied up. 4 questions left.
Okay, next question.
I think I should have gone with Goofy, but dang.
Yeah. Okay, next question. I've been saving this one.
Oh boy.
Who's the better dismembered pirate? Long John Silver from Treasure Planet, or from Peter Pan, Captain Hook?
Oh, Captain Hook, easily.
Long John Silver, I guess.
Right. And again, just to specify which versions we're working with. Of course, the animated versions, and not the the Tim Curry versus the Colin Donahue from Once Upon a Time. both equally fun, though. Both equally fun, and that would have made for an interesting fight as well. I want to make that clear. Those are also good adaptations of those. Seriously, those are good adaptations of those characters.
Well, we have to do that one of these days. Colin O'Donoghue Hook versus Tim Curry.
We might, because again, both interesting takes. Both interesting takes.
Hey, Dragon, you could do that as like a trick question.
I might.
I mean, I've been watching Once Upon a Time, so I could make some good arguments for and against Hook.
And my argument would be like, well, the guy's charming. He seems charming. Yeah. Anyways, okay.
All right, on with the debate.
Onwards.
All right, so take whenever you're ready with Captain Hook.
Hook is by far the best comedic Disney villain. He might not be the most physically intimidating. He might not be the most threatening. He might not be the most psychologically scary. But when it comes to humor, Hook is just absolute legendary slapstick gold to the likes that I would put Hook on like a Mount Rushmore of slapsticky, goofy comedic characters.
Like Long John Silver isn't exactly a villain. He's more like he's more of an anti-hero, actually. I mean, in terms of the fact that he does do some very questionable things, but he's never outright malicious or evil. He's actually gets redeemed at the end. Like he just has a charming personality. He's like you can't just help but love the guy. He just has this. He really cares about the main protagonist, Jim Hawkins, and he's just a very nice, well-rounded person with a questionable history.
Okay, you see, I feel like the Long John Silver thing, like towing the line between bad guy and good guy, that's what makes him less memorable than Hook. With Hook, he's one of the most memorable bad guys in all of fiction, and he's portrayed wonderful by Hans Conried.
Sorry. You see, Captain Hook, I mean, like, he's basically just this. He's a guy who's scared of a crocodile. He's scared by a ticking clock thinking about it, and he's completely beaten by a kid who can never grow up. He's just a completely ineffectual villain, and sometimes not even that great at funny at slapstick either.
But that T was supposed to be wasn't it?
No, that was just 15 seconds. That was
Son of a. Sorry about that, folks. You got it at 15. Didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, he got it in 15.
All right, Sorry, R2 was kind of stepping out of the room for a second there.
Was R2 taking a nap like he was in The Force Awakens?
A glitch in the
C-3PO kind of slapped him and went, "Hey, wake up! I got a job to do, man."
Glitch in the Matrix.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Shoot, I have to get back into it now.
All right. Had some good points made. So.
Yeah. Shoot. Sorry. Just give me a second to. Okay. Oh man. Shit, I'm sorry. I'm a dumbass. What were we fighting again? I hate to.
What? Oh, T, stop impersonating Sandy. Come on.
No, I'm so sorry.
Come on. All right. Who's the better dismembered pirate?
The dismembered pirate thing. Right.
That's going in the book right there. That's going in the
Okay.
So, that's beyond Sandyism.
Look at him go.
I don't think Sandy's ever forgotten.
No, he has. Sandy's forgotten. He's done. He's done that before. That's why.
So Hook is, like you say, Hook is one note, but I don't think he really is, because he does have an air of menace to him. It's just the fact that his goofiness always kind of gets in the way. I just feel like Hook is the perfect villain because of I don't know, Jacob, just take it, all right? Just take it. Give the point to Jacob.
Oh.
No, seriously, I messed up that bad. Just give the point to Jacob.
All right. Are you sure? Yeah, you sure?
I even had good counter argument.
Oh, I'm sure you did, Jacob.
I'll say this: it was tipping in Jacob's favor, though. So just to make sure.
Okay, to be fair, Dragon, I blame R2D2. I just want to put that out there. R2D2.
Oh, don't say something like that. Makes us feel good. Now we have to redo the round.
No, we don't have to redo the round.
I even had a good counter argument about the nuances of
Long John
Silver's.
Jacob was having me beat. Okay, just give Jacob the point. It's fine.
Don't guilt me on R2.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Honestly, I thought that Tiki was making a good argument too.
I mean, yeah, it was again, he wasn't out of it, and just Jacob, he was in the lead in that moment. So it's
all right.
Moving on.
Okay, so Jacob has 3. I have 2.
Jacob is in the lead by 1 point.
3 points to go.
Okay.
Race.
All right. Who's the more interesting Disney figure? Jeffrey Katzenberg or Michael Eisner?
Both of them are good. Eisner.
Ooh, okay. Tiki's got
Katzenberg.
All right. Okay, Jacob.
I really don't have a choice, so you know what I'm going with.
Okay.
All right. I'm surprised by this, but okay.
I think I would have gone with Katzenberg anyway.
All right. These are both fair choices. All right. So
Okay,
again,
okay.
folks, who's the more interesting, I guess, former Disney figure?
So look, with Katzenberg, obviously you have Stanley Tucci can play Katzenberg, but Michael Eisner has such a fascinating up and down with that studio. He went from being Walt 2.0 to being disgraced and run out by the shareholders by Walt's nephew himself. That is a captivating, interesting figure. And Michael Eisner basically, ironically enough, saved Disney. Pun intended, Roy.
Katzenberg is interesting because of how he was inside the studios. Like they say it's like under his tutelage, the studio produced the artists were like pushed to their hardest limits. But they also produce some of their best films, and he's sometimes described as also a tyrant to work with sometimes. But he's also more interesting for what he is outside of Disney as well, like for his foundation of DreamWorks and establishing himself as a major rival to the company he used to head.
Michael Eisner had a talk show on MSNBC, dear sir. Do not dare discount the quality and the epic impact that is Conversations with Michael Eisner.
I mean, it doesn't really explain how it makes it more interesting. I mean, MSN, doesn't really make it more interesting. Like Katzenberg, has always been making himself known, and he's also a humanitarian. But he's a very interesting. It's in terms of being a rival, but also Disney, formerly Disney itself.
Okay, that little bit I did with Conversations, that was just a joke. You know why? Because Conversations it fell flat on its face in a huge way. It literally got a 0.0 rating when it first premiered, which meant literally nobody watched it. Michael Eisner went from the head of Walt Disney Studios, the person who single-handedly pulled the studio up from near bankruptcy, to a person who was hosting a talk show on a cable news network that literally got 0.0 ratings.
I still think Katzenberg is the more interesting one. The fact that your whole cable argument itself makes it nobody is interested in Michael Eisner. He kind of fell off the radar. Katzenberg has always been on the radar. During his strenuous tenure at Disney, during his final years, and even after Disney, forming the competitor DreamWorks. Always maintaining that rival, and even maintaining his humanitarian status. Like inside and outside of Disney, he's been very interesting.
Okay. All right. Again, solid fight, boys. Solid fight. So Tiki was arguing more the fall, and again, it was impressive kind of way he built up. He was kind of really highlighted the fall of Eisner. I think we all learned a little something today about Eisner, and talk shows and Eisner do not mix well. Of course, the Save Disney pun, very funny. Very funny. Of course, kind of, again, the big fall from grace of it all. Then, he helped kind of Disney out of bankruptcy, and then, of course...
Again, that's what I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, so that's... things are again strong point with Eisner. However, I think that talk show joke might have Tiki saved. I'll say he saved the talk show joke.
Can I just say the talk show joke was all part of the plan? It was part of the plan to enunciate how much of a failure Eisner was post Disney.
I'll give him some strategy on that one. I'm just saying that again, it was an oddball strategy. I'm not going to say it's really take away from. I'm just saying again, really interesting fight. This one works. Now, let's see. So, with Jacob and Jeffrey Katzenberg, first of all, I'm not taking points away from this, but seriously, you never mentioned the Pixar thing once. Anyway.
Like Friday, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm not taking points away. I'm just saying, come on. It's really interesting. Anyway.
It's not really the first thing that popped into my head for speed round.
I know. That's fine. There's my own fandom. That one, but regardless, so I think again you really highlight I think you highlight a lot of great qualities about Katzenberg and kind of hit upon the thing that at least I find most interesting about kind of the, Katzenberg's kind of tangling with Pixar. But again, with Disney, what he was famous for in the very beginning, of course, he was a very conflicting figure. Because again, he did get a lot. He did get a lot from Disney, a lot of great creative stuff from Disney. Again, because he pushed them, but at the same time, he did push them so horribly. And of course, the thing that Jacob argued more than Tiki did, it would seem, is that he really argued kind of, again, this is where it's a different argument. So again, it's kind of tomato, it's kind of tomato banana in this case.
Mhm.
It's not tomato, it's different. Is that Katzenberg? He was a notable figure after he was let go from Disney. He was still talked about, just he was more talking about, he was still that conflicting figure because he did still do nice things, and he was kind of building up another company that had kind of rivaled Disney. Eisner, he just kind of fell out of obscurity. So again, while both interesting stories, I don't know, I think Jacob argued that Katzenberg had more stay power, and again, both interesting in different ways. I'm going to give the point to Jacob because again, it was a really close one, guys. It was really close.
Okay, that means there's 2 points left. Jacob's ahead of me by 2 points, so I need to win both these points to initiate a tiebreaker.
But seriously, folks, Jacob is improving.
Yeah, Jacob he's the comeback kid this round.
He is, and again, you both are putting up really excellent fights in these speed rounds. I want to make it clear, you guys are doing really, really good, except when Tiki gave away that point. So aside from that, pretty good. Okay, next one.
Dragon, can I just request something?
What?
I've noticed that all 3 of them have been like this or that questions. Can we do something that's a little more open-ended?
It's funny you should ask.
Okay.
Well, you don't like the this or that questions?
No. I'm just saying, like, maybe 1 or 2 per. Like, I like a little variety.
All right, sure. Well, don't worry. These next 2 are different. They're
okay.
I meant to sandwich them, but I kind of forgot about that, so they kind of end up in the order they were kind of created. So anyway, the point, next 2. All right, so this is an interesting one, and we're going to need the coin flipping function for this one.
Oh, shoot, really?
Yes.
Well, hold on, I don't actually have it pulled up.
I thought you had it pulled up. Anyway, let me vamp, I guess. Okay, so folks, let me describe this. The next question is, what is the, inspired by the fact that Tiki will be visiting Disney again. Lucky son of a gun. There's the question. What is the go-to Disney trick?
What do I do?
You just Google flip a coin and Google does it.
Anyway. All right, so folks, here's the question. What is the go-to Disney attraction when visiting Disneyland or Disney World? They kept it broad, just Disney.
Okay.
Disney Park. And here's the kicker. So before you guys pick, here's the kicker. We're gonna flip a coin.
Yep.
All right, now whoever calls it will get first picks, because what you're going to do is you're going to pick the other person's choice.
Oh.
The person who calls it gets the first pick. You're going to pick your opponent's choice as what is the go-to attraction. See, this is the point you can sabotage your opponent.
Okay.
All right. Once we.
So many 7s. Sorry, guys, I dropped my keyboard.
Suddenly I feel an urge to see a movie. I don't know.
All right, are we ready to go?
Yes, well, get it up, man. We need
It's up. It's right here.
Well, yeah, we need the little button. There we go. All right. So you guys, I guess call it now, and then we'll flip it.
Okay. Heads.
Tails.
Okay,
right.
I'm going to give Jacob Chippendale's Treehouse.
Okay, Tiki, is that really an attraction? I got to ask.
Yes.
I know it's a location. Are you sure it's an attraction?
Yes, it is an attraction on the attraction map.
All right. It sounds like it
Jacob,
counts.
you know exactly what Chippendale's Treehouse is, all right?
Yeah, I know what it is. I've never been to Disneyland.
All right.
Look, Dragon, if you didn't want this to happen, then you shouldn't have made this rule, all right? This is obviously what I was going to go to.
Hey, I know, I'm allowing it. I'm just saying I was going to also mention that because Tiki got first pick, he's going to be going first. So Jacob's going to be going second with Chippendale Tree.
I mean, that's fine because I'm picking frickin' Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, again, you don't get to pick yours. Jacob gets to pick yours now.
Oh, Jacob picks mine. Okay.
So Tiki's going to be going first in this round, but Jacob's going to pick what he's going to be saddled with.
Let me think here.
Remember, Jacob, he gave you Chippendale Treehouse.
No.
Let the hate flow through you. Let it boil.
Oh God. Oh God.
I'm just trying to-
Put his head on a spit. Come on, you can do it.
I mean, I'm just trying to think here.
You can help him, or you can.
All right, Frankie. You're being legitimately creepy right now.
Okay.
You're being more distracting more than anything else.
All right. Go on. Take your time.
This is a tough one.
Yeah, because the worst thing in any Disney park is Chippendale's Treehouse.
Stitch's Great Escape.
All right, let me put that down there. Stitch's Great Escape.
Wow.
Okay. So
Okay.
Tiki, you're going to go first with Stitch's Great Escape whenever you start speaking.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting argument.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. Oh, man. Woo! Okay, you know what I love about Stitch's Great Escape? It's the fact that it's Disney history. Yeah, Alien Encounter's not there anymore, but Alien Encounter was way too intense for kids anyways. So with Stitch's Great Escape, you get the cool Disney history of using the same sort of sound system that they developed for Stitch's Great Escape, mixed with an animatronic that, unlike Alien Encounter, you can actually see the animatronic throughout the whole show. And it's one of the best animatronics ever. So yeah, hell yeah, I'm running for Stitch's Great Escape.
Oh, God.
Argue those staircases, Jacob. Argue the staircases.
In Chippendale's Treehouse, you can go upstairs or you can go downstairs. Is that what you're talking about, Tiki?
Yes, that's what I'm talking.
I mean, forget the Cinderella's, forget the Snow White, Sleeping Beauty's castle. This is the true centerpiece of Disneyland. Chippendale's Treehouse stands above them all. God dang it! It stands out as like it's a great place for all ages to enjoy, and the stairs, damn it, the stairs.
Okay, I just want to point out that, like, I use the Chippendale's Treehouse thing as a joke, and, like, I legitimately think it's freaking hysterical that it's even an attraction on the map. I don't actually think it's a good attraction, and Hyperboil isn't going to win this argument for you, sir.
Hyperboil? I think you mean hyperbole, first of all. And secondly, Stitch's Great Escape replaced a fantastic attraction. Who cares if it's too intense for kids? A lot of things there are too intense for kids, but they enjoy it. That's because that's the reason why they enjoy it. Stitch's Great Escape just waters it down. It's bad.
In Chippendale's Treehouse, there is a staircase and then another staircase. You see, Stitch's Great Escape is an actual attraction with things that happen and animatronics and a pre-show and special effects and an exit walkway. None of these things are present in Chippendale's Treehouse. There is a little framed picture of Chippendale in Chippendale's Treehouse. There's that. That's there. Okay.
Okay, let me think. I'm sorry. I'm gonna forfeit. Don't worry.
Oh, come on.
Really?
Are you? Come on. Don't you want to give it the old college
I
try?
said I'm not going to forfeit.
Oh, good.
Sorry. Go on. Please. Go
I think, imagine my surprise. Imagine that my rage, like, I'm not going to forfeit. Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Please. Just we thought we didn't hear the knock. Go on.
You just made it sound like I wanted to forfeit. In all honesty, though, Chippendale's Treehouse does have its good charm. It has its charm, though. I mean, it's not exactly something that you go to, but it adds to the rustic charm that Disneyland has. It's good and it's actually very accessible. Whereas for City's Great Escape, it just basically insults the original attraction. And as you say, the burps in a tiki, as you said, kind of ruins the whole thing. The garlic burps or whatever you call them, it just kind of brings it all down. It's not really that exciting of a ride.
I did not mention the chili fries in any of my arguments.
Well, I think he's referring to past experience with TJ.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think that's fair because this is what we're saying in the debate, not what I've said off air.
Well, I think if Jacob specified that it was off air, then I would have counted. So, unfortunately, I have to take that one. I'm not going to count that one for Jacob. So,
sorry, Jacob.
Yep.
All right.
Tiki hates you. Okay.
I mean, I did give you Chippendale's Treehouse. So.
There's a lot of evidence to support that. So. Anyway, okay, seriously, let's break it down a little here. So, sorry. Okay, no. Okay. So Tiki with Stitch's Great Escape. He did argue the great animatronics and the fact there was an update on the ride. Jacob made the point that it was watered down. It was just kind of watering down the charm of the original attraction. But the main point that Tiki specified was that it was actually more of an attraction than Chippendale's Treehouse was. Which, let's get to Jacob's there. Jacob's. He did emphasize the stairs.
I mean, thank God,
he did commit.
If he emphasized the stairs, I think that would be a losing battle, right?
Now Jacob did commit to it, so you gotta give him all the points in the world for that. He did.
No, for sure.
He did, and he did make the point it was for all ages. I would like to hear more. Bridging off of that, the fact it was all ages, maybe kind of arguing kind of the scariest and more of the basically if you could have somehow worked that the disgust of the burps thing, but you having cited it properly, which you didn't do, which means we can't count that. So had he done that, and had he also kind of emphasized maybe it could be scary for underage kids, I think he might have had a bit of an advantage there. He did argue the rustic charm.
I did like that. That was one of the things he said. Like, yeah, it does kind of add to the rustic charm of Disneyland. It does.
Yeah, but in the end, I think Tiki just kind of, in his closing argument, I want to say it was in his closing argument, where he's just kind of laying out the fact, like all the, very sardonically, quite hilariously and sardonically, he's kind of laying out all the stuff that the video has.
Just Great Escape has an exit walkway.
So for that reason, I'm giving Tiki the point, which Jacob is still in the lead, but Tiki now is starting to catch up. It's 3-4.
Oh, man, Jesus. Okay. Let's keep this train chugging along.
All right. Okay, next question.
I got kind of screwed over on that one.
But what did you guys think of it? Did you like the did you like the coin flip one?
Oh yeah, it was fun. I thought
it was kind of different, kind of changing things up a little. All right, anyway, moving on.
I mean, this could very well ruin a potential victory for me.
God. Okay,
we'll see how you do.
To be clear, this is the final speed round question. But if I get it, then we go to the tiebreaker.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see. Okay. Oh boy, I got two questions I can pick between here. I got a funny one, or I got kind of a appropriate one. They're both open ended, so okay. I'm gonna go with heck. I'm just gonna go with this one as well. Which Disney character would make the best Batman?
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, Joker. Joker last time. Now we have Batman.
And this is, of course, both of these picked because this year, of course, marks the 25th anniversary of Batman the Animated Series. So again, while we're in September, might as well kind of take.
Oh God! Oh, that's hard. Huh.
Darkwing Duck.
Fucking A. How am I supposed to compete against that? Okay, you're gonna have to give me a minute because that's right. Hard. Oh man.
Give him a minute. You have to pitch a better Batman than Darkwing Duck.
I know, right? That's
fuck. For folks at home who may not be aware why Tiki's so frustrated is because Darkwing Duck is very similar to Batman that he is a vigilante.
Yes. Thanks for reminding the folks at home, Dragon.
That he is a vigilante.
I'm sure that
Dragon, don't make all my points for me. I mean, seriously.
All right.
Fred from Big Hero 6.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer, yes.
Okay. Okay, so Jacob has Darkwing Duck as Batman, as a prospective Batman in Disney's animated lore. And Tiki has Fred from Big Hero 6, voiced by the great and wonderful T.J. Miller.
Okay.
So, we're in a bat suit. Let's see what we got going on here. Jacob, whenever you're ready.
Darkwing Duck's already kind of halfway there to being. He's basically already a campy Batman in a way. He accompanies all kinds of facets of Batman without it. He's the campy Batman, and in case of Dark Warrior Duck, he can also prove to be quite the more serious Batman. With the regular campy Batman, he's proven he can be very serious when he needs to be. He would fit right into being the Caped Crusader, the Caped Crusader that flaps in the night, as you will.
So first of all, I think Darkwing Duck is sort of like the obvious answer, and so I'm going with a more creative answer. Just want to give myself a pat on the back for that. So Fred, of course, has the quality of that he is a billionaire, much like Bruce Wayne. He's got a hideout, much like Bruce Wayne. And I feel like he could really slip into the Batman role. And Fred is also really, really good at getting in character. He really loves like role playing, and I feel like he'd be really good at it.
As far as theatrics go, I don't think he can even beat Darkwing Duck. He already has the whole vigilante thing down. He's very into character. As far as theatrics go, he got him beat. He can slip into the character very easily as well.
Okay, I'm gonna need a moment to collect my thoughts.
All right, take it down.
In terms of character, let's see what was my point for character? Character Fred. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. This is my thought process. Okay. Oh boy. So. Again, it's for all the marbles here, so I need to take this seriously. Man. I'm just talking through my thought process because I don't want there to be dead air. Okay. Let's see. Fried spinach, Popeye. No, I'm just goofing around. Okay. So, like I said, it's not like Fred doesn't have any superhero experience. He was on Big Hero 6. So, I feel like him kind of taking that out and going on his own would be a natural kind of evolution of his character.
All
15 seconds, Dragon.
right, so our R2 is just these.
No, it's just that I took too long when answering when starting.
All right, all right.
Closing argument time.
Yeah.
Now, Darkwing Duck's already worked on his own, and just like in Darkwing Duck's already worked on his own, and he's proven just like Batman, he can work with a team, albeit not very well. In terms of Fred, though, I think he works better as a team. I don't see him being able to break off into his own. And in all honesty, I don't think he'd make a very good Batman. Darkwing Duck's already proven that, like in terms of Dark Warrior Duck, though a bit extreme, he's proven that he can be just like Batman, like he's the Batman of the Dark Knight Returns. He's exactly like that.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, again, I just think it's just such an obvious, lazy answer to pick Darkwing Duck. It's so obvious that I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think that it was on the line. So I think there has to be at least some points taken away for that. And who's to say Fred can't branch out on his own? I think he is one of the more resourceful members of Big Hero 6. He certainly has the resources of a young Bruce Wayne. Like I said, he's got the Batcave already established and all that. All he needs to do is just get suited up and ready to go, and he's there.
All right.
Yeah, pretty sure I lost this one.
We'll see. Let's evaluate. So, Jacob with Darkwing Duck. Let's see. So, Tiki made points about being the obvious answer, which just I can't really count that one because it's just I don't know. I can't really count that against the pick being obvious answer, mainly because he kind of really clinged on to that, so that didn't really reflect well on Tiki. However, with Jacob's though, I do feel Jacob was stating some. I wish Jacob went a little bit more unconventional with his approach. Just kind of highlight kind of the obvious. Again,
all I heard from Jacob's like, yeah, he's a vigilante. He's a vigilante.
Unfortunately, Tiki didn't make that point though, and that's really that's the reason I'm kind of conflicted on this. Is that again, Jacob was making a few obvious points. It's really an aesthetic argument Jacob was making, which is not a bad argument to make. And the only thing Jacob really had against Tiki's was the fact he's better as a team, which I think Tiki, just judging it by the audience, Tiki is making an argument that he has the resources, which is a good point. He's got the resources. He commits the character. He's not saying he can't have a solo career. He does have hero experience. I was hearing. I think Jacob just kind of laid out the obvious argument. Again, not about being the obvious answer, Tiki, but I did think he laid out kind of an obvious argument. I didn't really hear why. I just hear why Darkwing Duck would look like a Batman. I didn't really hear why he would be a good Batman. Make the best Batman. I don't know, the guys. It's really tough, but I'm more inclined with Tiki. I think Tiki he argued more points than Jacob did. So I'm going to give it to Tiki, which ties us.
Oh Jesus Christ! Okay.
ready for the tiebreaker?
Oh boy! Is this the break glass tiebreaker that you've been hyping?
No, remember we can't do that because we only have two people.
So. Oh right.
It's gonna be for another. This is just kind of like my finale. Kind of, it's like a smaller case with your break glass, like little questions, like Rick and Morty. It's like a little plastic card that's kind of break open.
Oh boy, Jacob! I just want to say this has been a fantastic Disney debate, sir. You've been a wonderful opponent this evening.
Yeah.
You too, Tiki.
I got to pick between two questions here. My little various little index cards, like the Summer was looking at here, little scenarios. Got a real fun one. I got a Fantasia one, or I got a really fun one.
Huh.
So, okay, I'll tell you what. Because you guys have done so well, I'll let you guys confer and kind of unanimously decide. What do you want, a Fantasia question or a fun question? As the tiebreaker.
I'm tempted to go for the fun question. I think it might be a little bit more fitting to end on a Fantasia question. What do you think, Jacob?
Remember, your most difficult round was a Fantasia round.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard to fit a good Fantasia argument in 30, 15, and 30.
So, Jacob, are you more inclined to go with the fun option?
I mean, probably. What are you leaning towards?
Yeah, I'm curious what the fun option is.
Okay, so you're unanimous on the fun option.
Yeah, but Dragon, can we kind of do the fun? What was behind door number B? Like, what did we pass up?
Number B.
All right, fine. Okay, so here's what you lovely gentlemen win. Which Disney character should Krunk have played?
Oh God. Okay.
Okay, and here's what you could have won. Here's what was behind index card, which led to door number 2. Which Fantasia segment should be erased from existence?
Oh man.
So
yeah, I'm kind of glad we went with this one.
Okay, so we're going with which Disney character should Krunk?
Just because I think with the Fantasia question, we could have gone to some really dicey political territory with that.
So yes, to reaffirm it. So basically, you guys are going to pull Krunk is your lead. Krunk is your lead. Your
One question, Dragon: can this be a movie after Emperor's New Groove, or does it have to be before Emperor's New Groove? What's the timeline on that?
I'm going off kind of the Roger Rabbit of it all here. Let's just say, he can be cast in any movie. Just Krunk exists.
The Huntsman from Snow White.
Right.
This is gonna. I don't know. This is gonna be a tough one. Does that have to play to the character's strengths, or did it just be like a very unconventional choice?
I think that's
your call. It's just Krunk cast as any Disney character. Like which one? Like should Krunk have? Which Disney character should Krunk have played?
Other than Krunk.
Yes, but he is Krunk. It's like
my vote is Krunk.
That's the thing. It's Krunk playing a Disney character. It's like Krunk was cast. We know Krunk from Emperor's New Groove. That's who Krunk is. So we know who Krunk
is. Playing another character. Yeah, I got it.
Krunk was Krunk being himself in that movie, and this is Krunk. He's trying his acting career now.
Oh God.
And no, we can't play the Tick because that's not a Disney film.
Yeah. All right. I need some time to think on this one.
Literally any Disney character.
I know. Do you know how many Disney characters there are?
Oh, I just thought of another one that he'd be really good as.
Yeah.
I'll don't say it because I need to think. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Can I give Jacob a hint?
I'll allow it.
I just think of like Disney characters that have like the big muscular build that Krunk does.
I know what Tiki's hinting at. At least I think I do.
Yeah, you do. You do.
The great Patrick Warburton. Next on Inside the Actor Studio, Krunk with his method.
Oh God.
I mean, I know you're talking about somebody animated, but I'm
just think of strapping men who are animated in Disney films, Jacob.
Think of Krunk's build.
I mean, I think I know what you're going for, but
you would say
Wreck-It Ralph
are roughly the size.
Oh, yeah, we got one. Tiki, we got one.
Okay.
All right. So Jacob,
okay, Wreck-It Ralph. What was the one you were going for, Tiki?
I was trying to hit towards Gaston.
Yeah, that's what I thought Tiki was going for.
Also, I'm going to throw a third one out there just for fun. I think Principal Prickly would also be fun.
Oh, yeah, that would be.
I think I can make a decent argument for Wreck-It Ralph.
Okay, yeah, Wreck-It Ralph is good. Yeah,
I wouldn't have gone for Prickly, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that option, Tiki.
Thank you.
Prickly, I mean, that one I can't honestly. I mean, it would be funny, but I can't really see it.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of coming down.
Children, today we've got an important announcement to make.
Yeah, I was thinking more ridiculous. Like some of the options I was thinking maybe Thumper.
Oh God, Thumper!
Just Krunk in a giant bunny costume.
They call me Thumper.
And him giving the whole the eat your greens speech.
God.
Anyway,
thank you.
All right. I think you whenever you're ready.
Okay, climactic fight of the evening, folks. Let's make it count.
For all the marbles.
Then I just want to hear Patrick Warburton say, "I'm Twitter-pated."
Oh God. Okay. So I think that Patrick Warburton would absolutely elevate this character of the Huntsman. Whenever people think of the Huntsman, they think of like this creepy, weird beardo guy. But Krunk would just be such a great addition because A, Krunk has the henchman thing down. and B, the huntsman is supposed to be a sympathetic character because he lets Snow White go. So who better to play the huntsman than Kronk, who's kind of like the sympathetic henchman who's got a soft spot for the hero?
And of course, folks, we're not talking about the huntsman. From
No, we're not talking about those movies. No, we're not.
It's the huntsman. No. Okay.
Okay. This has been Kronk is shown like through compassion and all that. I mean, that makes him perfect for Wreck-It Ralph. He's this big, strong character who's not. It would just show Kronk in a different light. I mean, it'd be him to show, and like he would fit in the roles because he looks the part. And he shows him his genuine heartfelt chops. I mean, he'd be able to fill that role very, very well, in my opinion.
I mean, Queen, you really want me to cut out her heart and feed it to a boar? I mean, gee, that's just a little too much to ask of me, Queen. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can make you dinner, but I don't know about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could wreck stuff, but I really just want to be more of the hero type, you know? Yeah, just everything in my life has been about wrecking. I want to create something for once. I just want to be the hero in someone's eyes, maybe. Possibly, I don't know.
I think my version was way funnier. Just Kronk talking about like, well, you know, instead of cutting out the heart, why don't I make her a nice tuna souffle? You know, like that's my thing. Like the huntsman is such a nothing character, but Kronk would just completely elevate it. It'd be a small supporting role with Kronk, but when you see it, be like, hey, it's Kronk. We love Kronk, and of course he's not going to kill the girl because the original huntsman is creepy as fuck, and Kronk would just fix that.
You see, that's the thing, though. I mean, it's such a nothing character. I think Kronk's talents would be wasted on such a character like the Huntsman. I mean, it would be kind of. As for Wreck-It Ralph, I think he would just fit the role very well. I mean, like Kronk. I mean, they're both strong. They both have the humorous side, and they're both looking to be more than just seen as the villain, or in Kronk's case, the villain's henchman. It's a role fit for Kronk. I mean, they're just very sympathetic and they fit well together.
Wow. I think we were too impression heavy with this round, but I do think we had some interesting arguments.
To be fair, I think if Jacob would have used his 15 seconds to like do more debating and not like fallen into my trap of impressions, then I think he would have steadily won.
All right, but yeah, it's an even match, guys. It really is. So here's what we're coming down on. And boy, oh boy, it's been a thrilling debate. All these questions we're building down to this one. So let's acknowledge kind of the scope of that. So I feel Tiki is, Tiki's taking a Disney film and putting Kronk in it, and he's making it a little more interesting. He's changing it, but he's taking a character who essentially is a blank canvas, and he's making it Kronk, which would be a way of kind of spicing up a Disney film. Now, on the other hand, with Jacob, with Kronk as Wreck-It Ralph instead of the great John C. Reilly, but still Kronk playing Wreck-It Ralph. He's really playing. Jacob had a really well laid out argument here, where he's pointing out how this would we explore more with Kronk, his acting ability and the depth, and the fact that Ralph would be a character very consistent with Kronk, and both of you have an argument of consistency with Kronk. He said Ralph's arc is consistent with more towards the end with Emperor's New Groove is consistent with Kronk's argument. He's working with the villains, but he is not necessarily a bad guy. Mm-hmm. And in the case of just kind of it's a small role. Like here's the thing. Jacob made a point. Jacob did a really clever thing in terms of strategy in this round. I'm going to assume it's strategy, but that's before Jacob informs us otherwise. Is that that impression may have been calculated because Jacob made his point in the closing argument where Tiki would not be able to defend this. So it might be strategy because Jacob made the point that basically Crunk as the huntsman would have been a waste of Crunk's acting abilities, just a waste of that beloved figure of Crunk as your Jacob.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, honestly, that is something I wanted to rebuttal.
Exactly, it's something that could easily be rebutted. Again, the argument I could see just Tiki making.
There's a thing called a supporting role, Jacob.
Exactly, Tiki could have made that argument, but again, I think I gotta give it. I'm giving the point to Jacob because Jacob he put Tiki in a box that Tiki just logically could not get out of, and I'm very impressed with that. So Jacob undeniably gets that point, and Jacob has 5 points. Tiki got 4, and we're at the end, and Jacob is the winner.
Oh man, that was sincerely epic, gentlemen. That was a war of words right there. Wow.
Right? I mean, wow, you guys, man, Jacob really improved after those first 2 rounds, and again, it was really close even then.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, props to you, Jacob. You really earned this victory, buddy. Good job.
I mean, I honestly wasn't sure how that last one would end.
Oh man.
I mean, I honestly thought that. I mean, I will admit that the whole rebuttal thing, not being able to rebuttal thing, was a bit of an accident, a happy accident on my part, though.
Right.
I mean, now that you realize it kind of does work as a strategy, but I didn't really think that far ahead. I was just doing what you did.
It's a happy accident, but boy, oh boy, again, something to consider going forward, wouldn't you say, boys?
Yeah, yes. For sure. Okay.
Because he got him under and got Tiki over a barrel.
I mean, yes, I totally plan to do that.
All right, Dragon, close us out.
Again, good game, Tiki. Good game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, folks, I think we've seen, well, sports fans, I think we've seen something very historic here. We've seen some groundbreaking examples of sportsmanship, of great humanity, but also great lucky strategy, but also great strategy, and more so great competitiveness. I mean, these are guys who really just went toe to toe for a bunch of rounds. They went all the way to the end. They really, they tied it up, and boy, it was to the last second of the bell with these guys. The last second of the bell would send a little something like this, and we'll hear again going in the future of Disney Debates, of course.